What if your biggest failure is actually setting you up for your biggest success? Today, I've built companies worth hundreds of millions. But when I was a homeless kid or fasting as a monk in training, I never imagined these lessons would reprogram my life. And if they work for someone as lost as I was, they could work for you too. So if you're just getting started, feeling stuck, or starting over, these 7 lessons might be what you need. Lesson number 1, rock bottom is a foundation, not a failure. Every hero's journey, including yours, begins at rock bottom. Broken, defeated, we've all been there. I remember sitting by the river Ganges in a small town called Rishikesh in India, completely lost and shattered. And my teacher, who was a great monk, asked me this very interesting question. He said, if I gave you watercolors and asked you to paint on top of this flowing river, how long would your painting last? We all know the answer. Almost all wisdom traditions affirm this idea. Hindus call it Maya, Buddhists speak of impermanence, Islam talks about the veil of ignorance, Western religions view our world as temporary as well. And I'm no expert in any of that, but here's what I know. Modern science totally agrees. By the time you finish this sentence, 23 million of your cells will have been replaced. We think we're the same person, but we're not. Even a second later, we have changed. Another way to think about this is that everything is short-lived, including our setbacks and failures. When we lose a job or face a heartbreak, fail at something important, watch our dreams get destroyed, it really hurts. But as the great songwriter Leonard Cohen once wrote, there's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. One way to think about this is when we hit rock bottom, we have found our solid ground, our foundation. Can't get any worse than that. That lesson was critical in my life because it taught me to believe that my setbacks were not endpoints, they were launching pads. And that mindset really saved me. If one thing doesn't work, let's try another. I have pivoted more times than I can count. Tech support to product, to marketing, to Wall Street, to executive roles, to boardrooms, getting fired, getting hired. Some of it felt like failure, but each one was evolution. What if you tried this? Every day, spend a moment thinking about tomorrow. Whatever pain you're going through, by its very nature, short-lived. Your current situation is not your final destination. Trick your brain to believe that your breakthrough is inevitable, and it will be. Lesson number 2, the wolf you feed is the life you lead. This one story had such a lasting impact on me. Young boy asks his grandfather to tell him a story, and the old man describes a fight between 2 wolves. One is made of anger and ego and envy and greed and jealousy, and the other is love, joy, peace, compassion, confidence. They're always fighting, says the grandfather. And the boy asks, but Grandpa, which one will win? The old man smiles and says, the one you feed. I have lived with negative thinking for years. About others, about myself, maybe you have too. Here's what I've discovered. We feed the negative wolf by default. Our brain is literally wired to obsess over mistakes and failures. It must be the reptilian part of our brain. And of course, not all of us can always be positive like Ted Lasso. Some days, the negative wolf will win. That's being human. The goal isn't to never feed it, is to choose the other positive wolf at least 51% of the time. I created this framework to catch and label my negative thoughts, and hopefully that works for you too. What types of negative thoughts do I have? I call it fired. Fire the negative thoughts. F stands for fraud. I'm fake, I'm an imposter. That's a negative thought. I stands for identity. I'm lazy, I'm not cut out for this, I can't get there. R is reading minds, projecting. They don't like me, they're out to get me. E is exaggeration. I always mess up. She's never gonna love me. I'm never gonna get a job. And D is for dooming. This ruins everything. I will never recover from this. Here's your 3-step practice that you can try. Number 1, label your negative thoughts. Use FIRED or some framework for that to name your thoughts. Number 2, separate yourself from your thoughts. You could either say, I am not good enough, or you could say, my mind is having the thought that I am not good enough. And you may think that this is also weird, but remember, this is where all of it is happening anyway. And number 3, redirect. Now, how do we redirect? That brings us to our next lesson. Lesson number 3, you can't change what you can't see. When I was in monk training, we would focus on this one phrase. Some did it for 4 hours. I could barely do it for maybe 30 minutes. I don't want to be yet another person highlighting the benefits of mindfulness and meditation. But modern neuroscience tells us that when our brain is at rest, it's actually sorting signals from noise. It's doing the most important work of making sense of our lives. You have to give your brain a chance to do that. The best way is to look at yourself through your inner mirror. Hopefully not that magical Harry Potter mirror that shows you what you want, the one that is honest and kind to yourself. This self-reflection or meditation or mindfulness helps you build a process to identify, label, and redirect those negative thoughts. It also has another advantage. Your brain has different wave patterns: alpha, beta, theta, gamma. Meditation helps you access the waves that reduce stress and reset your mental pathways. It's like clearing the cache on your computer and deleting all the junk files. When you do that, your computer runs smoother afterwards. What if you tried this? Start with 5 minutes. Sit with your breath using apps like Calm or Headspace, or just sit quietly. When your mind wanders, gently bring it back to your breath. It's less about emptying your mind or focusing on some mantra. It's more about training your attention. If we cannot observe our thoughts, we don't have control over it. And then we don't know which wolf is getting fed. As someone who's been completely powerless and hopeless in the past, and now sitting in boardrooms approving $1 million decisions, I can tell you this much. Self-reflection is your superpower. Lesson number 4, 3 minutes. That's all it took for someone to change my life. I had scored 34 out of 700 on my finals. Not out of 100, out of 700. I had failed in every single course in my final year. I was feeling completely defeated. So one afternoon, I was sitting in the cafeteria, drowning in self-doubt and self-pity, and drinking chai with my friend Pallavi. I just shook my head and told her, I just don't get this stuff. All this math is gibberish to me. She took a sip of chai and said, it's not that hard, dude. You're just overthinking it. Here, let me show you. So she opened her notebook and walked me through one of the mathematical proofs. And step by step, something clicked inside of me for the first time. I saw the beauty, the elegance, and the poetry, and I fell in love with math. That year, I studied like never before and got into a master's program with full scholarship. Now, I'm not sharing this to show off how smart I was, something like that. I wasn't. But all it took was 3 minutes and someone who believed in me more than I believed in myself. So here's what you can do. Find someone who sees your potential. Someone who believes in what you're going to become, especially when you can't see it. Now, maybe you do have that person, or maybe you don't. Either way, it's okay. Guides and mentors can come from anywhere. Your family, your extended family, your friends, your professional network, your neighborhood, your alumni network, your church or temple community. Put yourself out there in those learning environments. Be curious about other people's journey. Ask them, how did they get there? Because these little moments of grace can change everything. Lesson number 5, your to-be list matters as much as your to-do list. We are all obsessed with to-do lists. We all love productivity hacks. Some even make their to-have lists, goals, dreams, titles. I learned something from Jay Shetty that I thought was brilliant. And he says the most important list is your to-be list. Research shows that when we tie our habits to who we want to become rather than what we want, we're more likely to stick with them. James Clear shows this too. I want to lose 20 pounds is less motivating than the deeper reason I want to be healthy. And here's why. You can only control how you show up, not how the world shows up for you. If you are raising money for your startup, you can be prepared, you can be excited, and you can be authentic. You can't control if the investor will write you a check. If you're dating someone new, you can be genuine and attentive and confident, but you can't control if there is mutual chemistry. And same goes for job interviews. You can be the best smarticle particle in the universe, but you can't guarantee you will get hired. Now, I'm not saying we should all throw away our to-do lists, but here's what I notice. People who only have to-do lists burn out. People who only have to-have lists get frustrated. But people with to-be lists, they tend to stay more focused and more centered. What if you tried this? Every morning when you're making your coffee and you're making your to-do list, write down one word. How do you want to show up today? Patient, or curious, or present, or helpful. Experiment with this way of being for one day and see what happens. The irony here is that your to-be list will help you complete all your to-do lists and your to-have lists. Lesson number 6, there's always someone better. I frequently compare myself to people who have more. Better looks, better abs, bigger paychecks, flashier cars. I guess we all do it. And social media has turned this into an art form. Everyone's busy curating their lives as a highlight reel to make everyone else feel like they're missing out. A recent Pew Research study found that 25% of teenage girls say social media hurts their mental health, and 45% of teens say it hurts their sleep habits. Think about this for a second. If external success guaranteed happiness, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie would still be together, right? I mean, on paper, they have everything. Looks, talent, money, fame. Yet, even that wasn't enough. What's the point in comparing ourselves with others on these superficial factors? If you look at all the elite performers, whether they're athletes or artists or entrepreneurs, you'll see one pattern. They care about only one thing: getting better today than yesterday. That's why they win. What's your practice? Try this. When you catch yourself in a comparison trap, ask, what's one thing I'm better at today than I was last month? Could be that I spoke up in the meeting, or I tried a new recipe. Build your personal scoreboard, and you can connect it to your to-be list from lesson number 5, or make it a part of your self-reflection practice from lesson number 3. All of this is connected. If today is better than yesterday, you're already winning. Lesson number 7. Are we searching for something we already have? There is a story told in many cultures about a musk deer. This deer produces a beautiful scent from its own body, but it doesn't realize its source. So it gets captivated by its fragrance and frantically searches everywhere for its source. It runs through forests, it crashes into trees, and it exhausts itself trying to find where this amazing scent is coming from. And it will die searching, never realizing that the source was within all along. Here's one of the biggest myths that we ought to question. We all believe that success creates happiness. So we frantically hunt for success, hoping happiness will follow. But maybe it works the opposite way. Maybe real skills create happiness, and happiness and joy create success. I'm by no means singing "Don't worry, be happy." When you're struggling to pay rent or facing real challenges in life, those empty slogans don't mean much. If you want to be successful, you'll still need to work hard, you'll need to build your network, develop your skills. All that is given. But maybe, if you do the same thing, but with a genuine sense of joy, you'll be amazed how quickly the act itself will change. Your joy might make it slightly easier for you to cut through pain. When you catch yourself searching for something external to make you happy, a promotion, a relationship, a purchase, then pause for a bit and ask, am I running through the forest looking for something I already carry? There is tremendous power in that pause, and the answer to that question might surprise you. Here are 2 things I want to share. First, your best, most fulfilled life doesn't require you to shave your head and live under a tree like a monk. I know more than enough monks and millionaires who are unhappy and unfulfilled. But if you build the right mindset and rituals and habits, you can live a life with monk-like clarity and also become a millionaire, at least inside, at the same time. And second, these 7 lessons are more like 7 invitations. You don't have to apply them all. Just start with one that speaks to you. I hope you found it helpful, and if you did, please share it with someone who needs it. I'll see you next week. Thank you, and I love you.